"24K Magic" coming in from Bruno Mars and playing for you right here on 88.2 San UFM. I'm Crystal. It's a hit selector, and I'd like to welcome my guest on Celeb Select, His Excellency Bobby Wine. Hello, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Crystal.
Although now,
how are you doing?
I'm very good. I know now it's a lot more formal with Honorable Robert Chagulanyi.
But it's a Saturday. Are we supposed to be formal?
So we can go back to...
Yeah, we can be real.
All right. I like the sound of that. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
How are you doing?
What can I say? I'm all right.
You're all right?
At least today.
Today? You don't know about tomorrow or the day after?
Yeah, we live for the day.
We do live for the day. You are a very busy man, I imagine. Do you get like time off on your weekends to just go and chill, or is it every day something is happening? Between, I mean, of course, your job, politics, and then, of course, music as well, and then family. How do you manage?
Honestly, Krista, I wouldn't say I'm exceptionally busy. When I look around, everybody is busy with different stuff. I was busy with different stuff before I even went to politics. And I believe everybody is busy, especially in this day and time when hustle for a daily meal is harder than before. So everybody busy. Yes, I'm much more busy than I used to be. But yeah, I think I always find some time to attend to necessary things.
Do you ever take like time just for you, where you just alone? Do you ever feel like you need that kind of time?
Yes, I do. Sometimes voluntary, sometimes involuntary, because not every time that I'm alone that I like it. Sometimes I'm just lonely. You know, there are those times when everybody's scared of the situation and they'd rather not be near you. Yeah, that's alone but undesirable. And then, those times when I just say like, okay, I need some meditation, I need to think about stuff, and I need time alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So on this show, we want to get to know you better, know your story. You shared a lot of yourself, especially in your music, but maybe you can take us back to when you were born and where you were born.
When I was born, I was not aware what was happening.
Okay, where you?
I was just told I was born in Kozi Hospital. My mother was working as a midwife there. And then I started understanding when we were in Kamocha, in a place that used to be called Acholi Quarter, now called Chifumbira. And that's where I grew up. When I was in P2, my dad was released from jail that he had served since the Obote regime. And then my dad came for us and took us to Gomba. Okay. And that's where we lived until I was in senior one. And then when I went to secondary, I came back to town. That was a reintroduction to city life. Came back to Kamocha school, lived in Masaka with my granny. I've basically grown up around and about. Yeah.
Okay, but one thing that people talk a lot about is your time in Kamocha. Even when I'm driving past with other people, they're like, you see that house there? You see, that's the one.
Yeah.
Do you feel that your time there shaped you in some way?
Yeah, a great deal. Of course, time everywhere shaped me. I never talk about my village life so much because it was not maybe as eventful as my Kamocha life. But again, Kamocha is where in Uganda we call it Okuvubuka. That's where I matured from. That's where I literally grew up from. My teenage life. The turning point of my life was in Kamocha, and that's why I get most of the attachment, most of my teenage friends and early childhood friends in Kamocha. Okay. Basically, Kamocha shaped my life a little more than other places that I grew up in.
Would you say that you were a troublesome teenager?
I wouldn't call myself troublesome. As a matter of fact, I think when my mother was still around, I was much more disciplined and much more humble than I later on became. But I was not troublesome. I was just real. I was just living a life. Yeah.
Okay. So that means what? You never got in trouble?
I always got in trouble, of course. Getting in trouble does not mean you are troublesome. I mean, not every person arrested in the police or in prison is a criminal. Sometimes being you is an act of crime. For example, where I grew up from, we were children and they later on young boys and girls who are adventurous. You
Okay.
want to go to places like Kololo and see what children living there experience. You want to find yourself in an amusement park with other children. Sometimes you're naturally or socially prohibited from going there, but that defiant feel of belonging
Yes.
and entitlement takes you there. And yes, you find yourself in trouble.
Okay.
You will find yourself in trouble when you're a young boy from the ghetto and you attracted to this beautiful girl in an upscale place. That's trouble. Yes, so trying to identify myself and discover myself was a little bit troublesome here and there, but not that I was a trouble causer.
Okay. Okay. That's a nice way to put it, actually, because I think everyone's journey is different, and you also don't understand sometimes the reasons why people do what they do, especially for young people growing
Yeah,
up. Okay.
yeah,
All right.
sure.
Now, what about school?
School now. When I tell you my school story, you are going to real assert that I was troublesome.
Okay.
Because it will sound like a joke.
Okay.
But I did my nursery school from St. Maria Goretti Nursery School that was down in Kamocha in Chifumbira. I did my P1 from City Primary School, and my P2 first term was Kamocha Islamic Primary School.
Okay.
And that is when my father came for us and took us to the village. So my P2 second and third term I was in Kanoni Umea Primary School. And for my P3 I went to Kasaka Primary School. For my P4 and P5 I went to Kanoni Church of Uganda Primary School.
Okay.
And then my P6 I went to St. Aloysius Primary School in Bokalaji. And it's from there that I did my P7. I did not study P7. I just tried it out. It would save time and school fees. So yeah.
So you sat for PLE in P6.
Yeah, and fortunately I passed. So I went for my senior one, first term, St. Maria Goretti Secondary School in Katende. That's where I met elders like Emperor Orlando and the
Okay.
like. For my senior 2 and 3, I went to Brain Trust Academy in Lubaga. And then for my senior 4, I went to Kitante Hill School. That is actually where I met people like Baby Cool, Toolman, Master Parrot, Jerry Shaka, Rude Boy Devo, Ronnie Ice, and Luther T, and a lot of other artists.
Okay.
After my senior 4, senior 5, I went to Rubiri Secondary School for my senior 5 first term. And that's when my mother passed away and I left Rubiri. I went to Kololo SS for my senior 5. I first went to Alliance Secondary School for my senior 5 second term.
Okay.
Senior 5 third term up to senior 6 third term. I went to Kololo SS and that's where I finished my secondary education and went to Makerere University. So you see that I was an
There's
educational
so
nomad.
many. Yeah.
Not because I was troublesome.
Okay.
Because of the circumstances. Yeah.
Yeah.
My mother kept moving on from one place to another, being posted here, posted there, and yes.
As a
school
midwife
fees.
still?
Yeah, as a midwife. My mother served Uganda. Yeah, she saved lives. She delivered babies. She gave life. Yeah. So yeah, that is how my education was. Makerere University, I went. I first did a degree. I pursued a degree in social sciences. I was majoring in anthropology and political science.
Anthropology.
I did that for 2 years. We were studying with mature guys like Betty Kamia. I was in the same class with Betty Kamia when I was
Really?
18. Yeah.
What?
Her late husband Spencer Turomwe, we were in the same class, and a few other ministers that I would rather not name now. But of course, I didn't finish that course. I dropped out in my second year because it didn't seem my destination. So I reapplied. I went and did music, dance, and drama, from which I graduated. I worked for 15 years, and then went back to school to pursue a law degree, which I'm still pursuing. But on the sidelines, I went to the Harvard School of Government and
Yes,
also
just
did a short
recently.
course. Yeah. So education never ends.
So it sounds like education also has just been part of your life. Like you believe
I've
it's
always wanted
important.
to know stuff. I've always wanted to know stuff. I never had enough chance. That's why you see that I'm even pursuing studies at this old age. Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't say old, man. Then what will a 50, 60-year-old say?
Well, you ask what would a 20-year-old say?
Yeah,
You know,
old.
yeah.
Definitely old. Okay, so I am going to ask you now for your first request. You've given me quite a number of songs, so maybe you can tell me what your first request is.
Yeah, there's this song I used to love so much. I still love it. It was sung by South African musicians way back in the days of apartheid. It's actually one of the reasons why I came to music, to be able to voice out the concerns
So
and
it's
what.
one of the songs that gave you that.
Yeah, it gives me goosebumps every time I listen to it, and it's called Soweto, Say No to Apartheid.
Okay, here it is.
Soweto, our hearts are with you. Say no to apartheid.
Celeb select. You said formalities aside, it is the
Yeah.
weekend, and we're pretty
Let's
relaxed.
just be real. I mean, formalities are known by less than 1% of our population.
That's true.
Ugandans would rather be real, you know?
We would, but you know, the people who like formalities are super, super attached to those formalities, though.
Yeah.
If you've noticed.
I
Do you
happen
ever
not to be
feel
one of
that
them.
pressure, especially now that you're a member of
Yeah,
parliament?
yeah, I feel that pressure. I don't like it. For example, in our parliament, I mean, you see people burning with their desires, but the rules of procedure and all that restricts you to a certain code and mode of communication, which is not representative of who we are. And yes, that comes even down to us. I mean, our mode of communication, if we had made life a little bit more informal, it will even ease on the creativity. You know, we would be more creative. We would be able to shape up the Ugandan style. You understand?
Okay. I mean, people also say kind of the same thing about education as well. Our education
Yes,
system, that
yes.
it's too rigid, it is like so outdated.
Yeah, it has never been even on debt. For example, if you tell me that we were told, I was personally told that the first Muganda Kintu used to eat cow dung from his cow, and I disagree with that. But again, it is misleading further to see that we teach our children that to discover the source of the great river Nile, it had to take some white man from England to come and tell the people who are living there that this, I don't. And to make it even more real in our world today, a child comes from senior 4, senior 6, or even university, and they cannot even make a bread or fix a broken switch. And that explains to you why we have high levels of unemployment. We are teaching people just to serve people, not to be creative. We are producing job seekers, not job creators.
Creators.
So our education system, it's wanting.
What do you think we can do? Is it about tertiary institutions?
Restructure it and own it. Own it. Look at who we are, what we are good at, and then
Based on that.
Yeah, based on that, what do we need to make? Do we need more people who know about the Tennessee Valley Authority or the Canadian Prairies, or do we need more people to tap into what we have here in Uganda and then find an education system that only sharpens us to use and develop what we have. Yeah.
Let me take you back to your education. You gave us your history of all these different schools you went to, because for most of the time you were moving around a lot. So were you performing? Your love for music, was it already there when you were in school?
Yeah. I didn't tell you I was born into a music family. When I was born, there was a choir at our home. Actually, even the day I was born, I was told the choir performed. They always sing. I mean, there was that choir that at home that my big brothers, the Ediaways, the Chairman Inyanzis, and other beautiful and great sisters and brothers of mine, that uh, were singing so nicely, although it was primarily Christian hymns that they would sing. They were always hired for funerals, weddings, and even parties. So yeah, that's a family I was born to. However,
Would your mom sing in that choir as well?
yeah, my mom used to sing in a church choir with Phile Lutaya.
Yes.
So
yes.
she's the best discount singer that I saw in my life. Maybe because she was my mother. But
That too.
I was saying that music was running through the family, although mine was shaped later. When I was in music, played a big role in my education. By P5, I was the choir leader of the school that I was in. Yeah, and then, but again, when I went to secondary, I left the village. And when you just come from the village to town, your confidence levels drastically fall down. So I couldn't even sing those style in an urban school where the order was of the day was MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice, you know, and I had to fit in. Every time you're singing a Christian hymn, no matter how nice your voice is, you're off. So yeah, when I came to the city, I also kind of got sucked in. However, my love went to the Jamaican style, the Buju Banton,
Yes.
Shabba Ranks, and Bob Marley, and that, according to where I was coming from, was diversionary. It was rebellious to sing what my mom used to call music wabayai. You understand? But so that's how I went off course.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was always doing my music. Yeah, although it died out a little bit from senior 1 to senior 3. I didn't have the confidence. I'd just come to town. It resumed in senior 4 in Kitante when I met with Master Parrot.
Okay.
There was a singer called Master Parrot. He was my childhood best friend. So me and him joined a dancing troupe that was headed by Mariam Dagire. It was called the Wandugu Stars. We started out as break dancers, you know, and that gave us more confidence. Then at school, started singing, and there were other guys like Toolman, like Baby Cool, like the Rude Boy DeVos. So yeah, somehow I rediscovered myself in a totally different style.
A lot of musicians who were around back then, that time, say that, you know, the struggle was real, at least for music in Uganda. Did you feel that as well?
Yeah, the struggle was real. It is still real. I wouldn't want to put the struggle on only our times. I mean, the struggle was intense even before we were born. There were great guys like Eli Wamala, like Seba Dukas, and yes, even our entry had great people like the late great Menton Summer, Emperor Orlando, Raga D, Shanks, VVD. These guys were, you know, big stars to look at. The Baby Cools, and then later on came in the Chameleons. These guys were good. We only came in because we saw that we could do what they do, or maybe do it in our own style, or introduce better.
different.
Yeah, but the struggle is always there. Of course, my generation put up a very, very big contribution because it was like a rebirth.
Okay.
Yeah, there were many kids in my generation, and the numbers were high. So we came with the numbers. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So when you, I mean, I remember one of the first times, I don't know if you remember, but pretty much the first time I met you was around the time you did Funtula. That song.
Funtula. Bad boy time. Now that time, man, did you even have to remind me of that? Yeah, that time was I would say that was also a turning point of our music. It
Yeah.
was, in my opinion, the most aggressive period in our
Why do you say that? Why?
because now that was both a very creative time and very competitive time. Remember, that was a time when we had artists like Jose Chameleon on the charts, then Baby Cool, then Red Banton, and all these other guys, and that's when I was coming in. And yes, it was more like a cultural shock because most of artists were coming from uptown. And even those that didn't come from uptown always wanted to associate themselves with uptown and not the ghetto or downtown, because the acceptance levels for ghetto people were not as high as they are today.
Yeah,
So every artist, you had to either be a minister's son, or you had to make sure they don't know your Kawempe background, so that
Okay.
you can present yourself as one of these urban guys. And yeah, that's when we had cool rappers like Navio and family and place where you live had
Okay.
a bearing on you. Now here comes this ragtag guy from Kamocha, and is not afraid to say he's from Kamocha. And yes, I won't say I was indisciplined, but I was so radical that I would make use of my voice and my punches as well. And that opened a whole new chapter of struggle and
Yeah.
aggressiveness in our industry. Sometimes I look back and I'm like, man, how did I grow through those days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was a turning point in your life.
Yeah.
All right. Now I'm going to ask you for your second song, then we shall come back to that. Okay. Your own song. This one, Situka.
My own song. Yeah, I rarely request for my own songs, but then there's some songs I do and I wonder how I did it. Songs that I don't write, but just go to studio and flow spontaneously. And among those songs is a song called Situka or Get Up. I hope it inspires people out there as much as it inspires me.
Your own song inspires you.
Yes.
I love that. Okay. So here it is. It is Celeb Select. I am Crystal, and today on the show, I'm chatting with Bobby Wine. And the song that we just played, Situka, you said that you actually did that song at one of the lowest points in your life.
Yeah. it
What was
one of the-
happening at that
Actually,
time?
not me as a person, but I believe all of us as a nation. That was in 2016 after the presidential elections, and what came out of them. Of course, we were blown at different levels. But as a person who wants my country to go ahead, as a person who wants to see justice and who wants to see change, I saw that it was a slap in the face to Ugandans. Everybody was so demoralized, even the people that work with me. And I thought that I could do a song for myself and for other people that think like me, to remind them that, yeah, whatever it is, just get up and walk, And actually, that time is when I had a speech by the late Dr. Martin Luther King that said, in this struggle for freedom, if you can't run, if you can't fly, you should run. If you can't run, you should walk. And if you can't walk, at least you should crawl. But whatever you do, keep going. Just don't sit, don't to get broken down. Just keep going.
Because
And
many
I
people
thought-
just, give up.
Yeah, I thought it was important to give that message. Personally, I got inspired. Like I told you, it still inspires me. But I believe people out there that shared the same mind with me got inspired.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, let's talk about Barbie for a second.
What do you want to know about Barbie?
No, it's interesting when you meet couples sometimes and you ask the two of them, like if they're sitting there, how did you meet? Sometimes
Now
the
you've
stories are
started those
different.
things. It is funny how I met Barbie.
Yes.
I used to be an actor. Actually, that's what I studied at. I was in my final year at university, and I was a pretty good actor. We used to act with the likes of Tuwanje, Richard, the Bujingos, and I was a really good actor that our head of department, Dr. Masi Ntangare Mirembe, wrote a play. It was called Lady, Will You Marry Me? And this play was about the Cat and Rat Land Federation, these animals trying to get their own freedom and trying to federate. And there was a role of a president
Okay.
and a first lady. So I was cast to act as the president, who was actually a cat.
Okay.
And then, because I don't know if nobody was good enough from the MDD department, but Dr. Ntangare brought this girl, a senior six vacist from Bwera Nyanji, girls' school. And guess who it was? Barbara
Barbie.
Itungo. Now, Barbie Chagulanyi. So, yeah, we met. Of course, I was proud. I was from Kampala, and this girl was a villager. I was a bad boy from Kamocha, and this girl was a radical born again. So, the first 2, 3, 4, 5 days, or even a week, was argument because she was telling me her Jesus, and I was telling her reality. So, somehow, it was interesting for us to argue every now and then. So, we were there, but there's this one time when our director, Mr. Mukisa, had not come on time. So I was there and she was there, and we found ourselves involved in a conversation that none of us had initiated. But before we know, we had sunk so deep in that conversation that I noted she was a very, 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 very intelligent lady. And that alone swept me off. But again, I was too proud to make a move. So we became friends over time. It took us like 4 or 5 months to even say the word to each other. And by the time I said it, it was evident that these two souls were meant to be. The rest is history. We have 4 children and still going.
I like the way you rushed over that. Okay, the rest. We're going to pass that. We're going to pass that. Okay.
Yeah.
But now you are both. Both of you are very much in the limelight. You're both public figures. Barbie is doing so much work with her foundation and all these different things going on, and you're raising your kids as well. Do you have time where you sit down and you say, because people learn from you, they learn from music, all different kinds of things. So for example, how you're raising your kids, do you sit down and as a team you say, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're not going to do? Or is it one of those things, depending on the child, you just see what happens?
Actually, we plan half and God does half.
Okay.
We don't really want to direct our children according to our personal interests. But yes, we have values that we want to strictly instill in those children. We look at the children according to their interests. We observe them according to their talents. A child may like this, but you see they're really good at this, or they might be good at this and like the other. So yeah, as young parents, we also are on a learning course. Our parenthood is learning on the job.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes we teach our children, sometimes our children teach us. So yeah, we don't have a real selected program to take our children through. We just play by the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you two have been together for a long time. You've had your ups and your downs,
Yeah.
clearly, but you are still going strong. How
Yeah.
have you managed that? Because if you even look around, I'm sure even your friends, people around you, relationships fail.
Yeah, relationships fail, and we are not any different. But I think one thing that I notice with me and Barbie that is rare is that selfless love, would I say. The friendship, we are friends, like real friends. We know each other, and we know none of us is perfect. Neither of us is perfect. We just take each other's weaknesses. We are like each other's fallback. We try to cover for each other's mistakes. We try to. I try so much to look at her positive, and so she does, and that helps us. Help each other.
Okay.
Move. We also have our issues every now and then. We're not perfect, but again, another thing called trust. We tried and still keep trying to build that trust. When you have that trust, I think you have a rock, and once you lose that trust, you've more or less lost everything. So yeah, the trust and the kindness, to each other, twesasira, twesonyiwa, and keep going. And of course, we pray to God, because somehow, with my madness and disorganization and weaknesses, sometimes I wonder how I've been able to keep such a decent and beautiful lady all these years. So maybe there's an element of God Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Hey. Okay, that was deep. All right. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to ask you for this next song, Dax Vibes and Radio. This is also
Yeah.
another request.
You know, apart from Maddox Sematimba, I think Radio was among my favorite artists. Yeah, he had an amazing voice and he was so talented. And there's this young boy from Firebase called Dax Vibes who he did a song with. And I thought this was going to be among Radio's best songs. Unfortunately, he left us quite early. The song is called Mayumba Kumi by Daxi Vibes and Radio. I just love that song. I don't know if it's just personal, but I love that song.
I want to just take you back to something you said. You mentioned when I brought up back in the day, Funtula, you said, oh, those were days where even you used to talk a lot with your fists. And I guess it's one of those things. Do you feel that sometimes, in some cases, violence might be necessary to get a message across?
No, absolutely no. From the reading of history, violence has never been the answer. Violence only creates more violence. One wise man said, "We only resort to violence when our minds stop working." You know, violence has never solved any problem, and even when we think it solves problems, it's just a memento. So I don't believe in violence. I believe apart from violence, we have multiple options. Yeah.
Okay. There's so many different ways of resolving
Yeah,
different
yeah,
situations.
yeah.
Because we also just briefly talked about radio passing on.
Yeah.
And for a lot of musicians and artists, it's something that, tends to come up every now and then, that they're fighting here, fighting there. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, unfortunately, we the artists are a center of attention in most cases, that whatever we do, even if other people do, we tend to portray so much on us. Yes, we've been involved in many acts of violence like other people, but like I said, we attract so much attention. It plays out a lot on us. But violence does not identify us as artists. Talent identifies us. We do more creativity than violence.
Yes,
Yes, we've seen a few artists fight here and there, myself inclusive, back in the years. But we've also seen artists inspire people every now and then. We've seen artists make us proud every now and then. So I wouldn't really attribute violence to us because it does not identify us. But even the few times that we've been involved in violence, I think we are only human beings that learn from things. The things that we do, all other people do. Although so much attention and media is on us, but again, we tend to outgrow it. It's unfortunate that we lost a brother in the violence, but we've also lost many people. Even the leaders that lead us today came in with violence. So why don't we attribute violence to them and attribute it to artists? Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Now, let me just take you back to your ghetto days. And you say, when you were starting out, you embraced your background and you're like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
When you look back at that time, what are some of the hardest things you remember from that time? The memories that you've held on to and you're like, how did we get through this?
The fact that we just had to disrupt the status quo to be recognized. You see, it was almost official that a guy from my kind of background was not supposed to be listened to. I remember one time I was on stage and there was a radio presenter called Shanice. She came and actually chased me on stage in Munyonyo because I was a ghetto. You'd say, no, this is not for thugs. she was justified because back then I was the only ghetto youth out there, but now we have the Kenzos there, we have the Zizabafanas there, we have the Zex Inchikumis there. You just can't do that. So going through trying to convince the world to accept us. I remember even one time back in the day, I had just done Kagoma and I thought I was cool and I was, trying to approach this girl, trying to say good things about myself, but a few meters away from her, she grabbed her bag so close,
No.
like I was coming to grab it. So yes, there was that stereotype about ghetto people that was so hard to break. And among the achievements that I count on myself and my friends through that time was to break that paradigm and to make people like us acceptable in the so-called corporate society.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Is there anything you look back and you miss from
Yes.
those days?
Yes. I miss the freedom. Before I got so popular, I could very easily go to a place and, I enjoy the vibe. But now I don't mean to say I don't enjoy it anymore, but it's more uncomfortable that there's so much attraction when I go there.
Tension
that,
on
yeah,
you.
tension that takes away my personal freedom per se. You go to Kamocha Market to see your mother and it becomes a stampede. You go to Masaka and you want to visit your grandmother, and before you reach there, people know that you're coming and the young men have already surrounded your grandmother's place, and even police is showing up because those are many people and it's regarded an unlawful assembly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it took away that freedom. And the freedom to be me, to be the ordinary guy that I always was, and even lost some friends. Some people think it's risky being my friends, and yeah. So I miss that. I really miss that, and I even miss my friends. Some of the guys that I started out with, people like Master Parrot, people like Butcherman, people like Toolman. Sometimes you look back and you remember it was so much fun being carefree, being a young man, and being free, and having that sense of accomplishment. Having come from the ghetto to where we are, it was more of accomplishment for a long time until I realized that, okay, now we are here, but again, we need to go somewhere.
You
And
need
I
to move
started
forward.
onto another journey, which journey many of my peers and my friends did not embrace and stayed in their comfort zone. So I miss them, but again, one has to do what was destined to do.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
true. And speaking of sometimes, people feeling like it's too risky, when you got into politics and recent, events, have you ever worried for the safety of your family? Was it something that you thought about before you even started?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I knew what I was doing was right. I knew I was taking the right decision. I don't regret it. And I knew it would put me in an uncomfortable situation. I knew I would get slapped with loads of tax bills. I knew I would even face imprisonment. But I didn't know it would go as far as threatening the life of my children and my family. So yeah, but again, if I had to make a decision all over again, I would choose just the same because it is worth it. That's what I believe in, and if I must face the consequences, so be it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. A question that has flooded all my different posts about this interview. People are asking, are you going to run for president eventually?
Okay, now, did you have to ask me, even you, Christopher? I mean, I thought you're going to be different from these guys.
Well, I'm just, have you considered it? Let's say that. Actually.
When I was taking a decision to join leadership, I wanted to play a part in the betterment of this country. I had been playing it as an artist, and from the diagnosis of our problem, I thought I would even play a better role as a legislator. So initially I offered myself to serve, but not as per positions. I was serving my country as an artist. I'm serving my country as a member of parliament, and right now that is my concentration, and I'm trying to put all my efforts in that and to make sure that I give a better member of parliament than the guys I ran with and won, to make sure the people of Chadondo East and indeed the wider people of Uganda look at me as a successful member of parliament, as somebody that has delivered. And then after that, we'll think about other things. So as of now, I have a role to play, and I want to concentrate on playing that role. When we get to other bridges, we'll cross
We'll
them.
cross them when you get there.
Sure.
One step at a time.
One step at a time.
Now, you've talked about, this journey of yours and where you are now, losing some freedoms and all these different things. What have you learned about yourself as a person? Did you always know that you were destined for greatness?
You see, this is not about me, Crystal. And if at all there's any achievement, it's by all of us. Originally, when I was doing music, my biggest desire was to change the mindset of the ghetto people, to make them believe in themselves, which I believe, together with other artists and other people who do the same thing as I've done, have been able to do it. And together, yes, we can hold hands and congratulate ourselves. Hey, Sylvester and Abrams, you've done it from the hip-hop platform. Bobby Wine, you've done it from the musical, the dancehall platform. People like Katuma have done it from the jazz area. Different people, I mean, the Kiprotics, all those common people have done it. So we can hold hands and say, okay, guys, we've done this. But that's for the ghetto people. We are Ugandans, so all of Uganda need to benefit from us. So it's in with the same background that we shall hold hands and move to what we want to achieve again. So far, yes, we've achieved. We've been able to open some eyes. We've been able to spread our thinking and to inspire other people to think and see things the way we see them. And yes, more is yet to come, but not about me, but about all of us. And even I know that many people are listening to Sanyo FM down there. I want them to know that they can also contribute and do something. So it's not about me. Some things I just talk about them now, and before I even do them, some aggressive young man or woman out there is doing it. So yes, this is about all of us. Yeah.
So basically, anyone can do anything.
Anybody can do anything. It only takes faith, practical faith.
Okay.
Yeah.
Practical faith.
Practical faith,
Explain
not passive. Practical faith is having knowledge, getting confidence, then moving to do something about that, because knowledge is useless without acts. And even the Bible tells us that faith is useless without action. So we need to act about that faith. And the more we act is the more we see stuff changing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So on the music front, what are you working on at the moment? What can we look forward to?
I just dropped a few songs. We have a new song and video with Nubians called Tuogere. We have another one called Million Yebiambe and another one called Terede. But again, I also dropped an Afro beat tune recently. It's called Charenga. So every now and then I drop in studio. I freestyle, because now I always have long, stressful days. But again, going back to my ghetto is like going for an holiday. So every evening I have an holiday.
Okay.
I have a holiday back in my ghetto, sit down with my youth and chill and reason, talk about this and that. And before you know, that spirit of music is coming back again, and we'll go to studio and do a song. So that's how we be, and we still have more stuff to come. I wouldn't tell you what I'm working on, but I have a few collaborations that we are doing, and you'll be listening to them pretty soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just one last question. If you were to look at international artists or African artists, who would you really want to work with, that you haven't had a chance to?
Actually, if I want to work with any artist, it would be a Ugandan artist. We have so much talent in Uganda here. So much talent.
Okay.
Have you listened to a guy called Little Boss?
No.
A guy called Jamie Culture? Of course, you know Rema, you know Juliana, I've already worked with her. You know the new guys in the Firebase, the Zex Inchikumis. We have so much talent in Uganda. And every time I'm listening to radio, I'm like, okay, I want to work with this guy. I want to work with the other guy. I want to work with this lady. So before I work with all my favorite artists in Uganda, I'm not going to work with any foreigner.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, speaking of your new song, you just talked about Charenga. Tell us about this song.
Now, this song has undertones here and there. It is in 10 Ugandan languages. It is prima facie about a girl. The girl is too beautiful. Charenga is a Runyankore word, means chaitiride, chasuse, chaba too much. So basically that's it. But for those who have a poetic ear, they will also pick a few undertones here and there. But it's music anyway. So charenga means chaba too much.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, here it is from Bobby Wine, your new song. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
I appreciate. Thank you so much
Pleasure
for having
hosting
me.
you.
Cheers.
Nice to see you after all these years, all these many years.
It's a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Can I send greetings?
Please.
Yeah, I want to send greetings to my son, Kampala, my daughter, Shalom, Shadrach, and Subi. They're listening in. I want to send greetings to my beautiful wife, Barbie, all my friends, the guys we work with. Some of them I won't mention names for security reasons, but they should know I love and respect them. The Firebase crew, Nubian, and the team, all our friends out there in Uganda and beyond. We love and appreciate you. And we are here because of a combined effort. You see, Crystal, many times you see me or the guys I sing with the spotlight focused on us, and you tend to think that it's our effort alone, but this is a combined effort of so many people there, the unsung. So every time you see me fly, just know these guys are the wind beneath my wings. And every time I get an opportunity, I want to salute them and tell them I am because we are, and we are because I am. So God bless you.
All right. Thank you so much for the show, for coming on.
Hey, Alama.